Okay, we're going to get started by setting up a project within a repository. Now, if you notice the way we have things set up, if you looked at the reference repository, that repository had multiple projects within it. And there's, again, a lot of discussion whether that's the right way to do it or not. I'm not going to get into that discussion. We've made the decision to do that. So if you look at the cohort play directory or cohort play repository, we also have projects within that one. And again, your repository that you're working on right now, it also has multiple projects within the repository. So we're going to just create a new project within the cohort play repository. And to do that, we're going to create a new project folder in the repository. We're going to copy the two files, the Babel and the package file. And then within that, we're going to create a new source folder. And within the source folder, we're going to create a scripts folder. And within that, we're going to look at the get ignore done. So when we're all done, it's going to look roughly like this. Okay, so let's get started. I'm just going to use Windows Explorer. Again, if you're on a Mac, you can use Finder, or if you're on a Unix box, you can use Dolphin. It doesn't matter, but I generally do this under the file manager. So I'm going to go to cohort play. This is our cohort play repository, and I'm going to create a new directory called TDD mortgage. So there it is. It's been created, TDD mortgage. Within TDD mortgage, there is nothing there at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to our getting started, and I'm going to copy the two files that we need. We're going to copy the Babel file. And again, in some of your cases, you may not in fact be seeing the dot files. All you have to do to show the dot files is go into the view. Again, you could be under file. Oops, sorry. You could be under home, share, or file. If you click under file, you'll see the show hidden items. And if I get rid of that, that should disappear. Show hidden items, that should disappear. I'm not sure why that happens. But anyways, I'm going to copy this file and the package.json file. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to put that under our TDD mortgage file. There it is. I'm going to also create a file called, or create a folder called SRC. And while I'm at it, I'm going to go into the SRC and I'm going to create another folder. And I'm going to call that folder scripts. Okay. So this sets the structure up. If we look back at what we had in our last, so there we got our TDD mortgage, we have our SRC, we have our scripts, and on the main directory we have our Babel RC and our package.json. So the next things we got to do is have a quick look and see whether they're actually what we want to have in them. Okay, and there's a few ways of doing that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to open with code, and I'm going to bring my code repository. And if you notice right now, I'm going to just close everything out that I had running. This is just a quick and dirty look. Okay, so what this does is, and this is a fairly old one. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my, okay, so I'm just going to have a look and see, well, what version of Node do I have? So Node-V. Now, if for any reason the Node command didn't run, didn't tell me what the version number is, then my problem is I don't have Node installed. But in this case, I do have Node installed. It's running version 12. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that to a 12. That's an older version of Node, and we're going to actually set that to Node. I'm going to save that. Okay. So those are my presets. It's almost a whole story to discuss what these things do. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm now going to look at my package.json file. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake. So what I'm going to do, I'm also going to open that with code as well. And if I go into code, there it is. Now this is quite an interesting file. What this is doing is it's telling me the name. And in this case, I could change this. This is going to be TDD mortgage. version 1 of it. The main file is index, and then this tells me what I'm going to run as far as my test coverage, etc., etc. We'll get into those a little bit later. And then it tells me what versions that I'm going to be running of all this. And again, these could be a little out of date, but right now this isn't what we're talking about. So I'm going to just save that. And then the last thing we want to have a look at is we're going to have a look at the, we're going to look at the git ignore. Okay, so if I go back and I say I want to edit the git ignore, and I'm also going to open that with code, it now shows me the ignore file. And this is relatively important file to understand. So it's saying I don't want any coverage directories and I don't want any node modules. And you really got to make sure this one is there. I don't want any node modules. It looks like there's a couple of these that have been repeated, but that's okay. Better too many than not enough. So I always have a quick look at my index file to make sure this is what I expect. Okay, and then I'm going to quit, get out of there, and here I am. Okay, so let's just have a look at that slide and make sure that we've actually done everything that we want to do. So we've created the new project folder. We've copied and reviewed the babel.rc file. We've copied the package.json file. We've created a source folder, this guy right there. We've created the source scripts folder. And we've had a quick look at the git.ignore file. So I think as far as we're concerned, we are now done this section as far as setting the project up. We've done all the major editing. So let's go on and see what the next step is.